Hello all, welcome to the new Simply Put series by Kalam Academy. This is Priyanka Mahapatra, faculty at Kalam So today we'll be having a discussion on the newspaper dated 6th December 2023. So the text and the context section of the Hindu newspaper had two articles very important from our UPSC perspective. The first one being about the journey towards a plastic-free world, and the second one is about understanding how GPS works, how the global positioning system works. So this we would be discussing in detail. Then coming to the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper, the articles were not so important from our exam perspective, so we won't be discussing them. Again, coming to the Chennai floods, we would be discussing them in detail tomorrow when more articles would be there delving into the reasons why it happened because of the improper urban planning, because of the improper drainage system, etc. So we would be discussing that tomorrow. So these two articles are important from today's perspective, so which are displayed on your screen. So the first article is about what is the status of UN treaty to end plastic pollution. This becomes important from your GS paper 3 perspective. So why this has been in the news? Because members of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee under UNEP, they have recently met in Nairobi in November to develop an international treaty to end plastic pollution. Yes, we are talking about an international treaty to end plastic pollution globally. So what is the gravity of the plastic pollution? According to UNEP, every day equivalent to 2,000 garbage trucks full of plastic we are dumping into the world's oceans, rivers and lakes. Every year, 19 to 23 million tons of plastic waste they leak into the aquatic ecosystems, polluting lakes, rivers and seas. Thereby, it is entering the food chain. It is directly affecting the millions of people's livelihoods. The food production capabilities is reducing day by day, and therefore the social well-being is getting hampered. Coming to the recycling, how much it is recycled? Only 15% of the global plastic waste is being collected for the purpose of recycling. These facts you need to keep it in your mind while introducing any answer related to plastic pollution. And then you can start with the main demand of the question: what are the reasons, what are the challenges, what are the causes, and what is the way forward. So what is India's rank in the waste management? India ranks fourth in the mismanaged waste index. Mismanaged waste index, what is that? It is a gap between the waste management capacity and the plastic consumption. It is ranking fourth in that index with 98.55% of the generated waste being mismanaged. So you understand now the gravity of the pollution, the plastic pollution, and why we need to end it as soon as possible. So therefore, the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, INC, under UNEP, this you need to remember from your prelims point of view. This can be asked directly, what is Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, where it is being heard recently in news. The answer is UNEP, with respect to the plastic pollution, with respect to the environmental conservation. So this Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee is hard fighting to develop an international legally binding instrument to end the plastic pollution worldwide, and therefore it is having the responsibility of delivering that treaty, a global plastics treaty, by the year 2025. And this year we had the third round of negotiations, that is INC3, that is Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee. The round is 3. So it is assessing the zero draft. So this term also becomes very important from your prelims point of view. Zero draft can be a question or in the option of the prelims exam. So what is zero draft? It is a draft which is prepared before actually the first draft of the treaty. It is in the round of negotiations where options for obligations, control measures, they are being discussed. Okay, in this case, we are discussing the options for bringing an international legally binding treaty to end plastic pollution with respect to the high impact elements. that is primary polymer production, chemicals of concern, problematic and short-lived plastics, trade and financial mechanisms. Right? So we are discussing the options in the zero draft so that we can come up with the first draft for the Global Plastics Treaty. So you need to understand that these negotiations, what are happening now, they're not going very smoothly. There are some controversies or challenges posed by a group of like-minded countries. So who are these like-minded countries? They include Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, Iran, and some members of the GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, who are majorly the fossil fuel producers and they belong to the chemical sector. So they are posing a major hindrance to the third round of negotiations, for which we could not move in the intended direction. So what are the challenges? What are their rejection points? Let's understand, which is leading to the stalled talks or stalled proceedings in bringing the international treaty. First point they are disagreeing to is they do not want to reduce the primary polymer production. Primary polymers, they are very important for the plastic production. They are the raw materials. So they do not want to reduce the production of primary polymers because of the vested interest of the industries there. Here, in third round of negotiations, there has been 36% increase in lobbyists from the fossil fuels and the chemical sectors compared to the second round of negotiations. So you understand how much they are influencing the policy making of the states, for which the countries are not agreeing to reduce the primary polymer production there. They are saying that it is beyond the mandate of UNEA Resolution 5/14. Actually, the UNEA Resolution 5/14 is saying to end the plastic pollution by various technologies, by bringing circular economy, by bringing the recycling into picture. The like-minded countries, they're saying that, okay, we'll not stop the production, but we are there to assist you in the recycling process or to end the plastic pollution after the plastic is produced. So then they are also disagreeing over the start of the life cycle of the plastic product. Now every country is agreeing to the fact that plastic pollution can only be managed when we take strong and concrete measures at each stage throughout the life cycle of the product, of the plastic product. But here the controversy or the disagreement is with respect to the start of the life cycle of the plastic product, from where we need to check. So I'm asking a question to you guys, that where do you think the life cycle of the plastic product starts? Obviously at the point where there is sourcing of raw materials for the production of the plastic. But these countries, they are saying that no, it is at the product design level. Why? Because they have their own vested interest. They want to exclude the production from the scope of the treaty. Because they do not want to stop the production of the plastics because of the vested interest just that we discussed. So this is the disagreement point again. Then they are also disagreeing on eliminating compounds and polymers of concern. They are telling that we want a null option. Some countries, they are demanding a null option where they want to have a choice or status quo on eliminating those compounds. Right? Again, coming to the finance option, in the agreement, many countries, they want a plastic pollution fee to be paid by the plastic polymer producers, and they want to reduce the financial flow into the products with a high carbon footprint. But the like-minded countries, this group of like-minded countries, they want to delete these options. They want to delete the plastic pollution fee and to delete the provision which is telling to reduce the financial flow into the projects with a high carbon footprint. Then they are also opposed to a significant rule regarding the trade in polymers, chemicals, plastic products and waste. Why? Because they have the problem with the restrictions imposed by the treaty with respect to the trade of these polymers, chemicals, etc. They are arguing that if there is a restriction in the trade, it will encroach on their freedom and sovereignty of the nations, which the Basel Convention was also saying that if we bring restriction on the trade of the chemicals, then we are encroaching on the freedom and sovereignty of the nations. But this present treaty on plastic pollution is trying to put on some restrictions. It is trying to bridge this gap present in the Basel Convention. But the group of like-minded countries, they're not allowing to do that. So basically, they're not agreeing to any restrictions in the trade. Thus, it is diluting the whole purpose of bringing a international binding treaty by including many voluntary measures over there. The like-minded countries, they're including many voluntary measures, many null options, saying that we have national circumstances in priority, about the national priorities, about the bottom-up approach. By taking help of these phrases, it is actually diluting the whole purpose of the treaty. Then there are many challenges with respect to the rules of procedure as well. India-like countries, they are demanding consensus-based decision-making instead of a two-third vote majority, due to which the meetings are getting delayed and stretched. And now the draft text is tripled in size with accommodating all the member states' opinions, viewpoints, adding and deleting the text as it is befitting their national interest. So these were the basic controversy or the challenges in bringing down this treaty into implementation. So the key takeaway has been that the third round of negotiations, it exposed the considerable influence of the industry in the whole round of negotiations and the talks happening, and revealed that those member states are opposed to a strong binding treaty to end plastic pollution. Okay? So these developments you need to keep it in your mind if at all a question related to plastic treaty is coming in your exam. Basically, the question will come around the challenges, the controversies, the problem areas, and what is the status, which I discussed in the first slide. So these things you need to keep it in your mind. So this was all about this topic's discussion. Then moving on to the next topic, how does GPS works? It is important from your GS paper 3 perspective. So GPS. So from the civilians to the military purpose, from precision scientific studies to the urban planning and disaster risk estimation, GPS has significantly changed our lives, we all know. So this global positioning system has been brought by the US Department of Defense way back in 1973. It started the GPS program in 1973 and launched the first satellite towards this GPS program in 1978. And today, the modern GPS satellite constellation comprises of 24 satellites moving around the Earth in 6 orbits, such that each satellite completes 2 orbits in a single day. So such navigation systems, apart from US, they are being currently operated by Australia, China, EU, India, Japan, South Korea, Russia and UK. So this GPS system, it has 3 main components: space segment, control segment and user segment. So the space segment consists of 24 satellites positioned in 6 orbits. Each orbit is situated 20,000 kilometers above Earth, and each orbit constantly has 4 satellites. Here 4 satellites are there for a reason, which will ensure that at any given point of time, anyone on Earth can see at least 4 satellites, which is vital for the GPS functionality. So why it is 4? Because it will give all the information required to calculate a location in 4 dimensions. 3 of space plus 1 of time relative to the satellite atomic clock. Now the control segment. Control segment is a global network of ground-based control stations and antenna. These ground-based control stations and antenna, they're located worldwide, and it helps to monitor and track these 24 satellites, ensuring that they are working properly. Again, it can also transmit commands to the satellites when necessary. Here, standard positioning service is a service which is provided by the GPS that defines the performance standard of these 24 satellites, that defines the capabilities that the users worldwide they expect from the GPS system normally. This standard positioning service, it defines that performance standard. Then coming to the user segment, it is basically the application areas including agriculture, construction, surveying, logistics, telecommunication, power transmission, search and rescue in the disaster management process, air travel, meteorology, seismology, and military operations. So how does it work? Each GPS satellite continuously broadcasts a radio signal. Very important to remember over here from the prelims point of view. They use radio waves, which actually travels at the speed of the light. So when it broadcasts a radio signal, it has all the information about the location in orbit, the operational status, and the time at which the signal is emitted. So this signal is being received by the GPS receivers on the ground, such as your phone or in the car. And by calculating this time, which it takes for the signals to reach the receiver from the multiple satellites in the space, the GPS device can actually determine your exact location. So as we discussed, there are 4 satellites in service always, because they can provide all the information to calculate the location from 4 dimensions, 3 of space plus 1 of time relative to the satellite clock. So it's all about measuring that distance by the use of radio signals. Then how the satellites keep time? Because here keeping time is very, very important, because an offset of 1 millisecond can lead to the error of 300 kilometers. Imagine how important it is to keep the time. That is why we are using atomic clocks over here. And in India's case, we are using rubidium atomic clocks. Similarly, not adjusting for the 38 microsecond offset that exists between the clocks on the satellites and on the ground can lead to error of 10 kilometers within a single day. Therefore, in 1974, US Naval Research Laboratory, they first launched an atomic clock into space with the Navstar NTS-1 satellite. So here the question arises, US is already having GPS. Do other countries have the global navigation system? The global navigation satellite system? Yes. Russia's GLONASS, you need to remember these names. They can come in the match the following in the prelims exam. EU's Galileo, Chinese BDU systems are already in operation. Similarly, India is also having, which is partially operating. Australia, China, EU, UK, Russia, South Korea, Japan like countries are also having. And their GNSS, that is Global Navigation Satellite System, will be cooperating with the Global Positioning System. So coming to the India's case, India also has its own navigation system called as IRNSS, conceptualized in the year 2006, and later it has rechristened to NAVIC, Navigation with Indian Constellation. So basically it is a constellation of 7 satellites, 3 in the geostationary orbit and 4 in the geosynchronous orbits. This you need to remember from your prelims point of view, the exact number which how many are there in the geostationary orbit and how many are there in the geosynchronous orbits. And each satellite has 3 rubidium atomic clocks, which provides the accurate locational data. So here IRNSS or NAVIC is designed to provide us accurate real-time positioning and timing services to the users in India, as well as the region extending up to 1500 kilometers from its boundary. So this fact you need to remember, that is 1500 kilometers. It has once come in the prelims exam, confusing you by writing 15,000 or 15 lakh kilometers. So it is 1500 kilometers from the India's boundary. Again, it has got two types of services to be provided. One is standard positioning system for the users, and another is the restricted service, which is meant for military and security agencies usage. Right? So these all particulars you need to remember from your prelims point of view and mains point of view. Also, India has got a GPS aided geo augmented navigation system also, that is called Gagan system, which has been developed by the ISRO and the Airport Authority of India collaboratively. It is primarily used for aviation purpose only, for more accurate navigation during the aircraft operations. Right? So these are facts you need to remember from your exam point of view. So this was all about today's discussion. Thank you so much.